Upon their inaugural visit to the zoo, Mark and Emily, accompanied by their hearing-impaired child, brimmed with anticipation to witness his responses. Nevertheless, as the infant paused near the entrance of the lion's enclosure, the majestic ruler of the savannah engaged in a wholly unforeseen behavior, leaving onlookers in a state of astonishment. Meeting each other ignited Mark and Emily's shared dream of parenthood. Both in their mid-30s, they recognized in each other the ideal partner for building a family. Marrying soon after their initial date, they eagerly began their journey to conceive. The path, however, proved challenging. Despite their efforts, the struggle to conceive became evident, causing heartache. After a year, their persistence bore fruit as they received the long-awaited news of pregnancy. The prospect of welcoming the child they had fervently prayed for brought immense joy. Emily meticulously followed pregnancy guidelines, striving for a healthy journey from conception to birth. Yet, the ordeal was demanding, with persistent sickness casting a shadow. Doctors attributed her discomfort to natural pregnancy nausea, assuring her it's not uncommon for some women. The narrative took a swift turn with the birth of their little boy. Initially appearing healthy, concerns surfaced at 6 weeks. The infant's ceaseless crying defied soothing attempts. Emily's lullabies and noise machines proved futile, unveiling an underlying issue. The hopeful journey now bore the weight of uncertainty in a search for answers. At just 7 weeks old, a concerning revelation about their baby dawned upon Emily. Amid house renovations and the clamor, the infant's lack of response to loud noises became conspicuous. Emily's realization struck during a day when she couldn't escape the construction noise as she usually did. Anticipating a wailing, distraught baby, she was perplexed to find her child unaffected by the commotion. Despite the cacophony, the baby slumbered as if in silence, triggering a surge of apprehension in Emily's mind. The implausible tranquility prompted swift action. Emily and her husband promptly sought medical guidance, leading them to a pediatrician who promptly referred them to an audiologist. Their foremost concern was their son's hearing. Subsequent tests unveiled the truth. Their beloved baby was indeed deaf, a condition he had been born with but had gone unnoticed until then. The realization spurred Emily and Mark into profound concern for their son's future. The weight of the diagnosis and the adjustments it would entail weighed heavily. The envisioned life for their child had to be reimagined, and they faced the prospect of adapting their lifestyle to accommodate his condition. Grieving for the potential paths their son might have taken, they pledged unwavering support and resolved to navigate the challenges as a united front, ensuring the best possible life for their cherished child. They wanted him to have as normal of a childhood as possible, so they continued with their raising with love, then hair but with sign language instead of verbal communication. Despite this little hiccup, the baby soon bloomed into a happy, curious child. It quickly became apparent that their son was drawn to wild animals in any form. He would light up whenever they read safari stories or showed him some documentary shows. They were elated to note that he took such an interest in them. They bonded with him over his love for lions, elephants, and giraffes, just to name a few. Emily and Mark learned how to sign the names of all the animals he loved to encourage his passion. Even though he was so young, they had a growing hope that with this passion, he could lead a life where he didn't feel so different. After all, animals can sometimes be more compassionate than humans. Then, when their little boy turned 1, they decided to take him to the zoo for the very first time. He was just becoming mobile, so they knew he would have a ball running around and looking at the animals. They could never have anticipated what was going to happen. The little family had been at the zoo for just under an hour when they finally got to the African section. This was where they knew their son would be most excited. He could see all his favorite animals in one place. So far, he had seen quite a few animals from around the world. As they walked, Emily made a note of which ones he seemed to like more and wrote down the names. She was determined to teach him the names of the animals in sign language. From the moment their son saw his first giraffe, it immediately became apparent that he was in heaven. His little face lit up, and he began trying to wiggle out of his pram. Mark simply laughed and released his son from the seat belt. The little boy bolted towards the enclosure glass and just kept giggling. He would turn to his parents and sign the word giraffe over and over again. Emily and Mark had tears of joy in their eyes. They could hardly believe how happy their little boy was. Then he suddenly got distracted and ran towards another enclosure. From the start, they weren't quite sure what animal resided in that area, but when they saw the sign, they realized it was the lion enclosure. Their little baby simply plonked down on the ground outside the enclosure and stared at his reflection in the glass. What he couldn't see was the big alpha male lion that had taken an interest in him. Emily's attention was captured by the figure descending from its nap, approaching the glass where their baby sat. Swiftly recording the unfolding interaction, she hoped her son's delighted reaction upon seeing the lion would be captured on film. The unpredictable turn of events was beyond her anticipation. The lion, approaching the glass, paced back and forth, then suddenly launched itself at the barrier separating them from the infant. Initial amusement shifted to alarm as the lion repeatedly attempted to attack the baby through the thick glass. The realization dawned that this wasn't mere playfulness but a genuine threat. Their horror was palpable, but their son remained blissfully unaware. Mark instinctively cradled the baby, creating distance from the menacing glass partition. Unbeknownst to their child, his first encounter with the lion evoked joyous squeals. As their son's innocent excitement enveloped the scene, Emily and Mark were confounded by the stark contrast between their own apprehension and their son's glee. They were relieved he hadn't grasped the gravity of the prior moments, despite the disconcerting encounter that had unfolded just minutes before. Their primary concern was ensuring their child's adoration for animals remained unspoiled by fear. Reluctant to have their son's affection for creatures dashed, they summoned a zoo staff member and shared the recorded incident. The staff member responded with a chuckle, revealing that the lion in question had a penchant for jesting with those who ventured too close to his enclosure's glass. The lion, still youthful and full of playfulness, was akin to a mischievous teenager pranking an adult. Emily and Mark felt reassured that their initial belief was accurate. The lion had indeed been playfully engaging with their baby. Realizing that the lion couldn't have posed any threat through the glass, the couple sighed with relief, relieved that the lion's intentions had been harmless. In an odd twist, they found themselves grateful for their son's deafness, sparing him from witnessing the unnerving scene as he faced away from the lion. Undeterred, the family continued their zoo exploration, and their son reveled in the experience. It was evident that this adventure would be a cherished weekend tradition. Emily and Mark decided to keep the video, foreseeing its potential value in the future. They hoped that with time their son could appreciate the playful encounter for what it was. Their aim remained steadfast, fostering a love for animals in their son's heart, free from trepidation. Perhaps as years passed, their son would find himself working alongside the very employee who introduced them to the whimsical lion, completing a circle of affinity for these remarkable creatures. Imagine if a wild animal had done this to your child. How would you have reacted? To what degree would you promote your child's affection for untamed creatures? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Thank you.